there was a huge IT outage across the land. We'll talk about how it affected the parks. Tower of Terror has a birthday tomorrow. We're going to celebrate a little bit and talk about this new Moana ride that may be coming all tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter. Thank you guys so much for being with us today, July 21st, 2024. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. We appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, WDWNT TV, for more great content. And, of course, give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find us. And tonight, we have an interesting panel tonight. We had some technical issues. I don't know if you guys heard, there was an IT global issue that happened, and so someone ate the page. So I just wanted to let you guys know that from the start. But let's talk to the rest of this panel. Kamila?
Hi, everyone. I'm one of the people who was unfortunately not impacted by the IT issue. So Friday, I still had to log in and work.
Okay. And Stephanie?
I'm wearing my People Mover shirt tonight. Moving some, hopefully people get moving.
Okay, all right. And again, as I mentioned, Stitch ate the page. So what did you say earlier pre-show about Stitch eating the page, Stephanie?
Oh, goodness. Gives a whole nother meaning to the blue screen of death.
And I told you I was going to steal it, and then I said, no, this is you. I'm going to give it to you, so I appreciate you. Right off the bat, we have a super chat, so let's get into this. It is from
Shannon.
I know, right? Well, you tried. It's from Jungle Cruiser. Thank goodness we could talk. ParksCenter last Wednesday was a little rough. I will be devastated by the new Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree if it doesn't have singing bears. Plenty of room for a small show. That would be great. It's been weird to me, and we're going to talk about the Hungry Bear in a little bit, but it's been weird to me that we have something specifically themed to an IP that doesn't exist there anymore. That's always been kind of a little bit crazy to me as someone who didn't get to go to Disneyland when the Country Bears were next door to the Hungry Bear. It made sense. But now it's going to be a little bit more interesting. But again, Jungle Cruiser, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's get into this. So as we mentioned at the top, there was a big IT outage. And I remember everybody, like when I woke up, everybody was having a fit, and specifically, I think was a little unhappy with the folks over at Microsoft. I feel like this, I don't know. Somebody didn't update their Windows, and everything went down. Delta was having issues with their planes, and then we had a lot of issues going on with the parks, and specifically in the European and the Asia parks, there was a lot of issues and downtime. But this is something huge because you've got your trip all lined up, and you're ready to go, and then it all gets thrown off track because somebody didn't run that Windows 98 update. And as someone who has done travel, Kamila, I'm going to send this to you first. How do people react when this usually happens? And does your phone start to like blow up and they're like want to blame you or Disney, or who do they blame? I know they want to blame someone.
It becomes a nightmare very, very quickly because you think about people who are traveling to get there for a cruise, right? Suddenly, even if you're leaving the day before, 2 days before, when a situation like this happens, and to be honest, it feels like situations like this are happening more and more lately, you start to worry about, not only trying to help find a new way to get there, but also, is it going to be possible to, get to your destination in time? I will say Disney tends to be fairly flexible. So in the event of a flight cancellation or something like that, they're usually willing to work with you if you need to move around dates, if you need to get refunded for a ticket. But to be honest, when you're dealing with something like this, you're probably worried about a lot of things beyond just the destination that you're trying to get to or leave from. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, imagine you just got done with a week at Disney World, and now you're, stuck in MCO trying to leave. That also sounds like a pretty distinct nightmare that I never hoped to experience. And I saw some of the images of people at MCO, at Hartsfield Jackson, and I just to be honest, number one, was very thankful. I wasn't personally traveling, but it almost feels like to get anywhere these days, you need 2 days, not to just come in the day before, but you need 2 days to give yourself some room.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm supposed to be at San Diego Comic-Con next week, and I'm leaving a day early. And my wife was like, "Wait, why are you leaving early?" And I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want to chance it because you cannot run it down to the last minute anymore. You can't rely on it. You can't rely on it. Stephanie.
Yeah, Disney, I agree with Kamila. They typically are pretty helpful in these situations, especially when it's out of your control, say in the case of a hurricane, which happens fairly frequently. And they do everything they can to accommodate you. If you're there during a time when it's actually not very busy, they can, and they have, I'm not going to say that they will every time, but they have just adjusted your dates. So say like your flight didn't come in and you were supposed to check in today, they would maybe be able to adjust your date to check in tomorrow, and that way you're not charged for that night, which I think is one of the reasons why we love Disney, right? Because they do try to provide a little extra magic, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, and Jungle Cruiser like makes a great point here. I said somebody didn't update their Windows 98 and the people were mad at Microsoft, but the truth is it was CrowdStrike. So Jungle
CrowdStrike.
Cruiser says it was not Microsoft but CrowdStrike. They did not test and update properly. This is what happens when you use software as a service. And again, Jungle Cruiser, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. I saw someone else, I think it was Ronald in the chat, saying something about we're relying too much on technology. And I think that's the fear that I have as well, especially in the parks. We rely too much on technology. There were some attractions that went down. Now, for the most part, the parks themselves were okay domestically. The ones in Europe, like the turnstiles weren't working in France. I mean, if the turnstile's not working, then you don't have to worry about things in the park working because no one can get in, so you're fine. But Hong Kong was having some problems, and so but there were some attractions that went down at the Magic Kingdom, and the belief is that they had something to do with that, but we never got any confirmation on that. So I do feel like that's a larger conversation about how we rely on technology. We've talked about it on this show before about your phone, and when you have your phone with you in the park, if it dies on you, you're dead in the water. Not taking pictures
Right.
or texting grandma, but you're also going to be like, when's my fast pass? When's my dining reservation? All these things that you rely on for the app and for the technology. So again, something we'll talk about more in the future. Let's move on to the Tower of Terror. There's a big old birthday tomorrow. The Tower of Terror turns 30. So Disney's Hollywood Studios turned 35 in May. Obviously, Tower of Terror didn't open up with it. Not everybody knows that because they're not as old as me, but that is a fact. Um, so one of the things though that I was kind of surprised about is that they've gone back and this is weird to me. And I'm gonna throw it to you guys. You could tell me what you think. It's weird to me that we go back and we fix things and make them nice for their anniversary. Why not make them nice every day? I don't know, but apparently there was an effect that I don't remember where they had scorch marks over the doors to show where like the power surge had happened, which I think is a really cool thing, and I don't know why I never saw that before, but I think that that's great they bring it back. But the other thing is that there's specific merch for the anniversary that came out. But most importantly is this one right here. No, where is it? Here, there. I can't find it. Anyway, I'm just going to say there's a new Stitch, and he is adorable, and I feel like I need to have him. Here he is. Here he is. Even though he ate our page.
So
Oh,
cute.
it's
That's,
adorable.
I mean, I love Stitch, and I know that our friend Jake is a huge fan. I don't have a ton of Stitch stuff, but this is one that I feel like I must have in my life because he's so cute. So, Tower of Terror turning 30. Stephanie, the very first time you wrote it, you loved it. You go back every time. Tell me your story. Tell me your tower story.
Oh, well, my tower story, let's see. The year was, I'm not sure. It was probably 91, somewhere around there. And I remember it being the single drop. It wasn't the different random drop sequence that they have now. And you would just go all the way to the top and it would drop you all the way to the bottom. And I remember my dad's camcorder, the handheld camcorders that you would take to the park everywhere, and it floated up because of the anti-gravity effect. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. I don't know. I was probably 7 or 9 or something like that. Oh,
Here's the thing for me is I don't actually love, like, if you think about Cedar Point, like King's Dominion, those type of places, they have those drop zones where it's basically like a large lightning rod, and
right.
they drag you up into the sky in a bicycle seat, and then they just drop you. And I don't
Yes.
love that. I'm not afraid of it. I just don't love it. And so the very
Mhm.
first time that the tower was coming up, I thought, well, are we doing that? Is that what Disney's doing? But of course, it's a very well themed, very classic attraction at
Incredibly.
this point, and the up and down I think makes it more fun than the take you all the way up, freak you the heck out, and then drop you.
Yes, but
So
it was like a rite of passage again as a kid, right? Like I was so brave I got to do that and I didn't vomit.
well, when I was growing up, it was a haunted mansion. No, I'm just kidding. Kamila.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my Tower of Terror story is that probably similar to so many families, I don't get to go on this ride that often because a lot of the group that I usually go to Disney with and in my family, they do not like this ride, like genuinely terrified of the way that it drops. But last time I did Jollywood Nights, I was able to go on this ride, and it had been a while, like definitely a couple of years since the last time I'd done it. And it's just such a classic to me Disney ride, like the queue, that kind of slight sense of dread, even though you know what's going to happen, the way that the cast members get in on it. And then just the merch, I think, has always really been so well done for this ride. And I think the merch that they provided for this 30th anniversary, birthday, whatever you want to call it, is so cute. Like the Stitch is adorable. That cup, I think it's the Tervis maybe, that is adorable. Like I need one of everything.
Okay. All right. Well, get you down to Florida and get some. I feel like that. You know what though? It has a similar vibe. It has a backstory, a similar vibe to the Haunted Mansion, as I mentioned before. So you would feel like maybe they would be on the same level of merchant. A lot of people who just love this attraction. And I'm grateful for the fact that the one in California is one thing and the one in Florida is another. That's the thing I keep saying is I would love for there to be
Absolutely.
a variation. So at least we get to keep this one and have it
Mhm.
be like the way that we remember it. But now the one in California, which people didn't get too attached to, is something to me also cool. So,
Mhm.
I love that that's a thing. And you're right, the Hollywood Tower stuff, not the hotel stuff, like the key,
Right.
like they have the room key or the
Mhm.
the stuff with Mickey and Minnie like you were talking about. That is pretty neat to see. Yeah,
And can I just say also to your first
anything you
point
want.
about well, just kind of around like the way that they're still adding to rides all these years later, and like what I love that the Imagineers still get to kind of tweak and fine point and come up with new ways to surprise and delight. And certainly, getting a ride or attraction and making sure it's ready for its birthday is a big deal. But I feel like Disney Imagineers do this on many occasions. Like I'm thinking of the way that they continue to make updates to Living with the Land when they have the overlays. Like every year, it feels a little bit new and refreshed. So I love that you could walk into Hollywood Studios or the Magic Kingdom one day and be like, "Oh, that's new," even on a ride that's been around for 30 years or more.
Yeah.
And I think that's the true meaning of plussing an attraction. When they say we're going to plus out this attraction, no, you're going to completely change it. That's not really a plus. But plussing it out is what you're talking about, Kamila.
Mhm.
And then let's all riot about the fact they took away the cool billboard.
Oh,
Well,
yes. Yeah, that was disappointing. I
Yes, it
know.
was
Well,
indeed.
because it was the movement. I love that.
way to
Um,
end this on a low note, Rob.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Pulling
Happy
us down.
birthday, Tower of Terror. Happy birthday, Tower of Terror.
We
I
were
was looking
doing
in the
so
chat.
well.
I know. Up with people. I was looking in the chat about Jungle Cruiser mentioned that now Six Flags owns all of those parks. When I worked at King's
Oh,
Dominion,
yeah.
which I did work at King's Dominion too, Disney World and King's Dominion, it was under King's Entertainment, and there were like six, and then they sold it to Cedar Point, and then now the whole thing belongs to Six Flags. So they're more than Six Flags. That doesn't seem to make sense. They should change the name of it.
Right.
I don't know. If they change it
Yeah.
to 12 Flags, we have some shirts we can sell them. Let's move on to Disneyland turns 69. Now, it's really interesting to me when these birthdays happen because, like, sometimes they celebrate big and sometimes they don't really celebrate big at all. Like, 65 for Disneyland had a pretty big celebration. 35 for Hollywood Studios, it was okay. But so I didn't really expect them to do something crazy for the 69th, but they did offer a a $69 ticket for but it was very specific. It was like this is to Anaheim residents and it's starting as low as $69. So many qualifiers. Like, just give them $69 ticket. What's it really going to hurt? I mean, that's kind of crazy that they would do that. I do kind of love this pin that they came out with for Disneyland for the 69th with Tinkerbell, and then they had a cavalcade because you can't not have a cavalcade, right? At the very least, you have a cavalcade. I like when they give you a button that says I was there for whatever date it was. That to me is more memorable, or a specialty map for the day, which I don't think they did either of those two things. But I feel like, Kamila, Disneyland is more your home turf. Are you expecting big things for the 70th?
I don't know that I think 70th is like really a milestone. Like, to me, 65 makes sense, 50, of course. 70 is like, good job, get to 70. So no, I'm not expecting too big of things, but I do feel like there's kind of like that road to 70th wording that's been going around. So that makes me wonder, like, maybe, but even then, I don't know that they need to do a lot. Is kind of my personal thought. I think it's cute what they do. The cavalcades are nice. I like the gesture for the Anaheim residents. I think that's really nice. I feel like they put up with a lot. Disneyland right in their backyard. All the lovely people who visit.
I mean, that's true, I guess. But I feel like you knew what you were getting into when you come there. Like, when you move, like, if I moved to, or like, I don't know, like Kissimmee, and I was like, all these tourists. It's like,
fireworks every night.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of why I go there. But I get your point, absolutely. Stephanie, Disneyland.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Kamila. Like, the 75th is going to be big, right? If you're going quarter century here, like, that's going to be a bigger celebration than the 70th. But I will say I was there for the 60th. That was a beautiful job that they did on the castle. I thought it looked lovely, and they had a lot of great merch that I still enjoy using. So hopefully they come out with some good merch for the 70th. We'll see.
Yeah, I think I was there for the 60th, and it was, what was the diamond? That was 60?
Yes.
And so I was there for the 60th, and it was also Season of the Force, and it was also the beginning of Christmas, and it was just like too much almost. There was too much going on, which you kind of had this year with Pixar Fest going on the same time as Season of the Force, which I hadn't had in a while. And I do know that it was a strain on my popcorn bucket budget, so that's the thing. It's not there's I'm just kidding. There's not really a budget. It's just whenever they come out. So let's move on to talk about some bears. We talked about it last week with the bears because we had gotten a lot of sneak previews from cast members, from press. Our own WDWNT team was in there and got to see the show ahead of time, and we talked a little bit about that last week. But I just want to point out a couple things that have happened now that the bears have officially opened. So last week, not only was it the anniversary of Disneyland on the 17th, but it was also the rise of the Country Bears, if you will. The soundtrack is available whether you love it or not. The soundtrack is available on streaming services now. Also, they have some merch, which I think looks very similar to the poster that they had released a while ago when they were teasing the thing. And then, of course, the poster itself is also now installed in the Magic Kingdom as you walk through the tunnel. And then also it's been added to the extended evening hour events. But something that the Jungle Cruiser had mentioned earlier is that the timing is just weird to me. Over at Disneyland, they are retheming the Hungry Bear, which was, like I mentioned at the top, the Hungry Bear was this restaurant that was next to the Country Bear Jamboree in Critter Country, which seems like Critter Country is now Winnie the Pooh, and that's it. but Critter Country has this Hungry Bear barbecue jamboree. Do we think they should be theming this? Like, shouldn't this have been something Tiana-ish, I feel like?
No, I actually love that they're doing this. And there's a couple of thoughts that I have. The first one is that little t-shirt that you showed, I think is so cute. Like, I feel like I don't know who's doing the graphic design lately for some of this Disney merch, but you're doing a great job. So keep that up. Yeah, like that's like I'm not even a Country Bear fan, and I'm like low key, I need that. So very cute.
Love
But
that.
something that I've said before is, one thing that Disney does is they focus group all of their rides. Like you will go to Disney and you'll get off a ride and you'll see a cast member with a clipboard asking people questions about what they thought about that experience. And I really feel like they had to make a decision. What do we do with the Country Bears? And if we're going to keep it, right, then what does Disney do with all of their rides? They turn it into IP. And so, it's not enough to just have the Disney Bears, Country Jamboree show. You've got to expand on that, right? You've got to get merch out. That's obvious. It's Disney. But also, how does it make sense to have, a restaurant themed around bears in Disneyland that's not necessarily themed around the Country Bears? So to me, this makes perfect sense. They should have done it much longer. I hope we get actual animatronics or something. I don't know where you'd put them. But the restaurant, which is a quick service spot, it really is a great spot, right? It's in an area where it's kind of, if you need to take a break as you're trying to make your way over to Galaxy's Edge, it's great to stop. I always like it because there's upstairs and downstairs seating. It's usually pretty easy to find a table. Previously, they had burgers. It sounds like they'll, take a look at the menu, maybe make it barbecue themed. That sounds fun. So I think this is a great idea. Why not expand on the Country Bears, which, you've clearly invested in to this point?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But again, I feel like Critter Country is closing in. We've expanded New Orleans Square so much that, those shops that are beside it, and Splash Mountain was part of it. Now that's kind of it's been annexed by New Orleans Square, so that place is getting smaller and smaller. So I would love to see. I mean, I don't think there's any room to grow there, but I would love to see something like you said, like an animatronics something, like maybe Henry's there somewhere. Like Jungle Cruiser said, it should be like there should be a small show. It would be really neat to see. I think the restaurant existed when the show existed in what is now the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And so the bathrooms, I always thought it was cool that the bathrooms had like the silhouettes of the actual Country Bears on it. But you're right, they weren't really leaning into it too much.
Could
Anything
they put
on this?
the three guys on the wall? And they don't even have to have a stage. They could just put the three guys on the wall and they could reference the show at Disney World. I think it's great that they're theming it to this. I think it's a very cute thing. They theme the Regal Eagle to the Muppets, and it's very well done. You don't have any Muppets in there in EPCOT, but it fits the locale, right? Unfortunately, I'd love to see Sam Eagle pop his head in there. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be really cool. Like you said, at the very least, they used to have the talking heads at Chuck E. Cheese. Like they could put that on the wall.
Did you just reference Chuck E. Cheese?
I have 5
Come
kids.
on, you have to. Even I thought that watching it. I'm sorry.
Showbiz pizza.
Give a shout out if anybody remembers Captain Andy's Rivertown. I don't think anybody does. It was exactly the same thing. It was completely just an animatronic thing outside DC, and I don't know if it was listed anywhere else, but Captain Andy's Rivertown. I remember the song. I'm not going to sing it. Let's move on to Halloween, because again, we were going to be talking about Halloween a lot leading up into what we always refer to as the spooky season is drawing closer, and they're getting ready in the parks already for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. They're already putting up some of the structures for the events, and then that's the wrong way. I thought this was interesting. This package that they're selling on the Disney Cruise Line, where you can go and get Boo on the High Seas. I feel like this is something that Stephanie would do for her family.
I
but
totally
maybe not.
would do that.
There's a lot of there's a lot of merch that's available now in the
That's
parks.
so cute.
And also, we've noticed that another night, the second party has sold out at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So there's a lot of Halloween stuff coming. But the one thing I definitely wanted to mention, because I honestly have just a ridiculous reaction to this, is that the wreaths that they have in the Magic Kingdom, stay with me, the wreaths that they have in the Magic Kingdom on Main Street when you go there with the Mickey Mouse and the Halloween wreath is going to be for sale on Shop Disney or DisneyStore.com tomorrow. And I'm freaking out a little bit, honestly. I want, but is one enough? I feel like, in the Magic Kingdom, you have a ton of them. So is one enough? Stephanie, what are you excited about?
3. You got to have one that you can put up. It's going to fade in the sun, so you have a second one for your other door and a third one as a backup. So you got to buy at least 3. I have set my alarm. I'm going to, be ready with my digital thumbprint or whatever to log in and get all that started. It's going to crash. I'm calling it already. We're going to crash the internet. We're going to crash the website, and I probably won't end up getting them and have to buy them off of eBay, but
Yeah. Well, and I'd love to hear in the chat if anybody else is like, the Hatbox Ghost in chat said $74.99. Ouch. Honestly, I think they could have charged $124.99. They'll still sell out. Yeah, because it depends on what it looks like. It may be one of those things where it's like it looks like the one that you see in the park, but you get it home and it's like doll furniture size.
Got to look at the dimensions.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm sure it won't be like to scale from the ones in the park, but I'd love to see in the chat if anybody else is like excited about it, because Stephanie and I are excited about it. Kamila, I assume based on your face alone that you are not excited about this.
Here's the thing. This is the problem with this show, okay? Like, I had no plans, had really no idea that any of this stuff was coming. And then you see this show and all of a sudden it's like, wait, do I need that? Or I didn't have plans for it, but now I'm looking at it and we're talking about it. And now I'm like, do I need to be, up whenever this releases? Like, that's a real problem. Okay, I have goals and you are keeping me from them. That's why sometimes, Rob, when you're like, hey, can you be on the show, I'm like, let me look at my bank account first, because it is expensive. It is expensive. No, I think
Go ahead.
It's a real problem being in the Disney community. No, but I do think it's very cute. Let's be honest, like, those wreaths are iconic. And what I worry about the most, I live in a decent neighborhood, but do I think my neighbors will steal it despite the fact that I have a Ring camera? Yeah. Yeah, I do.
No.
This is why I don't put. This is why I don't put magnets on, like the pass holder magnet, on my car, because I feel like people are going to take it. Oh, look, free magnet. I think what we've established here, Kamila, is a support group, but it's like a reverse support group. Like, do you want to buy that? I support you. Like, exactly. Like, yeah. I mean, there's a $500 Cantina Star Wars set that Hasbro Lab was doing, and I thought to myself, that's ridiculous. If I went to my wife, it would be shut down in a half a second, and it's dumb, and I'm an adult, and I shouldn't buy these things. But I know that if I went to Nicholas Cicero and said, should I buy this? He'd be like, heck yeah, you should get that. You should totally get that. So it's like we're a reverse support group. But I do have a couple super chats, speaking of support, and one of them in particular, it says, this is from Rosita, the super chat queen herself. This is it's $50 super chat. It says, this is to donate for a Country Bear shirt for Kamila and Stitch Tower of Terror plushes for Rob and Stephanie. Just showing my love for PC. Thank you, Rosita. We appreciate it. And apparently we need that. That's more support, Kamila, but that's like right. In a good way, so.
But literally so far, and we're like, what, 3 or 4 topics in, the Country Bear shirt, that Tower of Terror Tervis mug, like, I didn't know that existed, and then I saw that and I was like, oh, that's a need. This little wreath thing, like, I mean, every story is like, and then also that Goals Night Out, like, shirt that was like in the Halloween update. That's so cute, and it's like it's like Daisy, and I'm guessing that was Minnie too, with a little witch hat on. Like, stop.
You're going to
Oh
be
my
okay. We're
goodness.
all going to be okay. It's going to be fine. We're
Is
going
it
to be okay.
expensive to
Uh,
watch ParksCenter?
No, it's not. It is not. Again, we are all a support group. We're here for you to support you in buying things. So
That's right.
if you don't have those things in your life, then now you know. And we have one more super chat from Jungle Cruiser. It says the Hungry Bear still has the bathroom and Country Bear signs. The 3 original heads are in the Winnie the Pooh ride. That is correct. Yes, when you're riding
Wow.
through, and I don't know if you've done that or not, Stephanie, but like that was the
No.
big deal for me when I went to Disneyland. Was I had heard of this. I love hidden Mickeys, Easter eggs, things like that. Is that as you're riding through Winnie the Pooh, if you look up behind you, you'll see the 3 heads on the wall from the original Country Bears. I look at that building though, and I want to know like how was that set up as the Country Bear show originally, because again, I didn't go to Disneyland until later in life, so I didn't see the original Country Bear there. By the time I got there, it was already Winnie the Pooh. Which I think is a wonderful Winnie the Pooh attraction. The fact that it has the big honeybees and it starts from the outside, or the honeycomb, and starts from the outside and it goes inside and then brings you outside again. I think it's really well done. But I'm just like trying to wrap my head around where was the entrance and where was the actual hall, and were there 2 theaters and not just one, and it looks like it was a neat setup, and it happened after the Country Bears in Disney World and then left before. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. Anyway, so again,
I'll
thank you
have
guys.
to look.
Thank you guys for the super chat. We appreciate it. So Fire Chief says, when you buy the wreath, Kamila, tell your husband Rob approved it. No, don't do that. No. I don't. Nope. Let's talk about
Definitely this on you.
I mean, why not? Lightning Lane Multipass. Get used to saying it out loud. Lightning Lane Multipass is coming. Long live Lightning Lane Multipass. Sorry, it's the death of Genie Plus. It's the same thing. It's just, it's basically, it's got a new name, and it works better. It works more like Max Pass. It works more like the original Fast Pass that we remember. So it's a good thing. It would be nicer if it was, I don't know, free or included in your ticket, or I still say I would love for you to include it in my ticket and then charge me more, and then I don't know I'm doing it. I'm that naive when it comes to that stuff. I would really rather you do that. We talked about it when it first launched, when they first announced it, but now they are dropping off these very, very intricate like flyers in the hotel rooms to explain this to people and how it works. And I think we all talked about the fact that post-COVID, Disney has become so freaking complicated that you kind of need a master's in Disney to be able to understand what to do, which is why we love to share knowledge with everybody out there and get knowledge from other people and from the blog, and to be able to kind of like as a community talk about this so that everybody has support. I love it when somebody says to me, hey, we're going to Disney, anything we should know? And I go, grab a pen, sit down. This is going to be a long conversation. When was the last time you went? Oh, 15 years ago. Okay, so you don't know about park passes. You don't know about, you probably missed out on most of Fast Pass. But now that's gone, and then Genie Plus, but now Lightning Lane Multi-Pass is here. The other thing is that it's now in the app that Disney World guests have to update the app. So if you are running an old version of it and your phone doesn't remind you to update your app, then you need to do that. So it's coming. It's very close. So Stephanie, I don't know when your next trip is, but I assume the next time you go, you're going to be Lightning Lane Multi-Pass all over the place.
So we're actually going to Disneyland in September, and I'm having to relearn everything for that I, think I know for Disney World, but Disneyland is slightly different. So you just reminded me, I need to go check on my park passes and make sure those are all correct for the dates that I'm there. But yes, I'm really worried about that, truthfully, truth be told. I would love to just be able to, like you said before, either run up to the attraction and get the paper thing, or just go ahead and do them ahead of time as I go. But yes, I think the 3 selections ahead of time will help as far as us planning where we're going to be and when we were going to eat dinner. And I think, Kamila, don't they have a Fantasmic dining package at the Hungry Bear? Didn't they used to do that? Do they still do that?
They did used to, but I thought that's gone for now.
Okay.
Yeah,
also something
feel
I
like
have to look into.
They they have options. I mean, they have other options that you can do, and I definitely recommend it. Like there's
Okay.
Blue Bayou, of course, but I feel like they took away the Hungry Bear one, and then there's some others.
Isn't it closed right now though? So
Probably
Yeah.
needs refurbishment too.
yeah, because of all the construction and everything, which is why it's going to be opening up with the newness. But I mean, Stephanie, you might as well go Blue Bayou. You might as well go the whole way. I
Right.
mean,
I'm
I
gonna
don't understand
try.
why you're cheaping out and not doing it that way. Um, Anyway, Kamila, before we move on about the lightning lane, I mean, again, I'm sure that you can agree that it's one of those things that most people are just. We probably need the little map in the hotel room to explain it to people.
Yeah, you definitely do. I mean, it's one of those things where I think as people who go to Disney more often, we just take for granted what it's like to be someone who maybe is going for the first time. And especially if you're that person who's planning for your family or for your group, it's really overwhelming and it's a lot to try to figure out. And remember, you also have to understand that there's, however many parks and where you're going to eat. And I mean, it's overwhelming and it's too complicated, even though I do like this update. We'll see if this is something that helps. I mean, I think it's also trying to promote people to also purchase it and make sure that they understand that it's something you can do ahead of time. But I I don't know. I feel like for myself, like I have my first few clients that are going to get ready to start to sign up for this soon, and I'm like, oh, I need to like figure out exactly what it is and how it
Well,
works. And then I have my own trip coming up. So
I do know that Disney always makes money on the prepay. So if they can get you to get the dining package, especially the very top tier of that, they're making money on that. So yes, they love people to prepay for things. I will say though that I wish that they would be like a Universal where you stay at their top end resorts and you get the
mhm.
express pass per person per day that you're there. I think that's fantastic. And honestly, I mean, if they're going to be charging $800 at the Grand Floridian a night or above, they really should be including this in there.
Yeah. And I remember there was a moderate option now instead of Hungry Bear. It's Rancho, and Beverly in chat
Okay.
mentioned this as well.
Thank you.
Rancho de Zocalo is your moderate, and I love that restaurant. I love going there and
Cool.
getting that mostly because we have gluten-free and vegan in my family, and it just seems to work. Is a good option. But the food's always good and it smells amazing when you go in there. So
Awesome.
that's one, and then River Bell Terrace, and then but
Oh,
again,
yes.
I think go Blue Bayou.
I'm gonna try. They seem to be just like booked every time I try because I have 7 people.
Okay, all
if
right.
you can if
Well,
you can split up, like do
Yes,
4 and 3,
4 and
that can
3.
make it easier sometimes. And if you're
Okay.
there like right when they open it up, um, you should be able to get those reservations.
I
Okay.
swear I
Wonderful.
thought you were about to say if you can dream it, you can do it, because you were like if you can, and I was gonna go like give her that encouragement. If you can dream it, you can do it.
But you
We
can do it.
believe in you. Yes. We believe in you, Stephanie. That's going to be
Thank
great.
you.
Let's talk a little bit about boats and cars. So a couple things happened that I thought we would smush together. One is, we track patents and permits and things that are filed, and they have filed a permit for the test track sets to be installed at EPCOT. And so that's one of those things where, like, when they talked about Test Track, they introduced us to the Test Track 3.0 idea at Destination D23 last fall. They just recently closed it in June, and now they're going to be installing the sets, which feels like I wish that there was a truckload of set pieces ready in the back the day they closed it, and they could just shove them all in and open it up like the next day.
Together.
Where's that magic? How come that magic isn't happening? That's what I want to. That's what I
Like the
want in my
turnaround of
life
the Magic Kingdom, right? From Halloween
with the
to Christmas,
to
just boom,
Christmas, exactly.
24 hours.
Even that's been kind of a little iffy recently. I mean, Halloween is what August, like it's a ways away, and here
October
we are.
31st.
Well, no. I mean Disney Halloween. Disney Halloween
Yeah,
is different.
August.
This is August. August. Yeah. No, I'm aware of the date. Oh, quiz me on Christmas. I know that one too. So we have fun. So one of the things that they've said about this test track is it's going to be themed around, they said, like kind of an homage to World of Motion, which was the original attraction that was housed in this building. I don't know how you do that because it was really kind of like the spaceship Earth of travel. And so I don't know how you give nods to it in general, but it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm excited to see what they do with it. And I'm hoping that because they've filed these permits that they're kind of trying to step up and go, let's get this done before D23 so that when our boy Josh is up on stage, he can tell everybody, hey, great news. We've already started working on test track and it's going to be open on blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm hoping that there's a lot more.
Everything on time.
Stop it. But I mean, that's why they've changed their like philosophy, I guess, is like it's coming summer. Or no, it's coming 2024. It's coming summer.
No.
It's coming June 28th. Like, it's like it closes in. So I feel like it's going to be, this is coming 2025. And that's what we're going to hear. And then we're going to wait until Destination D23 next year. And they're going to go, it's coming November. I mean, so I hope that they do a good job refurbishing this attraction, making it something, as you were talking about, Stephanie, plussing something out, making something new about it. Let's talk about this one before we move on to the Moana thing, because I think the Moana thing is going to be a big deal. Thoughts on this one, Stephanie? Are you excited about this one?
Yes, actually, I love World of Motion. That from my childhood, I know, everybody talks about Verizon's and how great Verizon's was, but I really do remember, I have the most memories of World of Motion, the cart with the chickens that fell over and the wheel that was spinning. And so, yes, I hope that they bring some of those old sets, or at least, like you said, an homage back to that. Wouldn't it be great if they have an area with the dinosaurs? Like Universe of Energy, but anyway, that would be cool too. But yeah, I think they needed to redo, that is, the interior of this. I would also love to see the track extended. I doubt that'll happen, but
yeah,
it would be cool.
We're going to go into extra innings on this topic, though. But I'm going to forgive the fact that you said Verizon's twice, because I do things like that all the time. Horizons, I think is what you meant.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe you're just brand conscious. Maybe I don't know.
I need a new phone.
You're looking for sponsorship, aren't you? Yeah. Kamila's looking for somebody to blame her consumerism on. You're looking for sponsorship.
Right.
You guys are just using this show. Wow, this is crazy. Kamila, test track.
No, I think Stephanie is exactly right. Enough time has passed. Test track was like some cardboard on the interior, and then you just got to go fast. Okay. It was a terrible ride, and it needed to be redone. That's why when they announced it was being refurbished, nobody cared. Nobody said anything, because low-key we were all like, yeah, I could see it. I could see it. That line was too long for what that ride is. So if adding some little trees and some scenery helps it out, I'm all for that. I hope it's, good. I hope it's not the same as Cars in DCA, but comparable in the sense of like you really put some effort, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. So the second part about this was to talk about what we kind of showed on the thumbnail for this particular episode, was that back at D23 2022, and I'm very excited to get back into that this year in a couple of weeks and see what they have to say about, all of the changes that have happened since they announced stuff at D23 2022, because now it's not D23 anymore. They changed it to a different name, the same way that they changed Fast Pass to Genie Plus to Lightning Lane. So if they change the name of it, then you're not held responsible for anything you promised us back at D23 Expo, because they're like, what is that? That doesn't exist anymore, right? That makes sense. But they showed us this beautiful design for a kind of vision of Dino Land that was going to happen. And it was like, okay, we're going to get rid of Dino Land, say your goodbyes, but we're going to put in this huge Moana area and a huge Zootopia area. And I was like, okay, I love Dino Land, but yes, do that. Make it that. I can't get to Shanghai to go to Zootopia. Make one of those. I've wanted one of those in Animal Kingdom forever. And then the Moana thing, that kind of makes sense. She's one with the ocean, the world, the land, Animal Kingdom. I'm down. That's fine. But then they were like, no. we're going to put Casita in Indiana Jones. I mean, okay. Like, I like Encanto and I like Indiana Jones, so that'll be interesting. And we were like, okay, I guess this boat ride that they showed us is gone. No, 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 no. There is a patent that they have filed for like a wave finding attraction. So the way that this works, it looks like that it's a boat that kind of moves around, and I kind of see it almost as if it's like sort of like a trackless ride system in the water. It almost looks like, to be able to point you anywhere that they want to point you in this thing, and it looks pretty exciting. I know, Kamila, you are not a friend of boats, but is this, I mean, it feels like this is like they're like, okay, we're not done with this project yet. This project could still exist. We have blueprints, we have a design, we have a thought process on it. I want to know what your thoughts are on this, and then also, just out of curiosity, if it's not going to go to Animal Kingdom, where would it go?
Well, I feel like it feels weird to have a boat ride that's not tangled in the Magic Kingdom. So I feel like maybe not there. Because I just feel like after what we've seen at other international parks that I guess will not be named, I just feel like people would be so upset. But the thing about a Moana boat ride, to me, I guess what I really think about it is the parents who are booking these Disney trips because, they have two little princesses who love all the Disney movies. They don't even realize that there's not a Moana ride. Like, they will literally, when you're working with them to say, okay, like, what parks do you want to visit on what days and that kind of thing, they're like, well, where's the Moana ride? Where's the Frozen ride? And so it was always kind of awkward to be like, well, there's actually not a Moana ride. Now there is a Moana attraction, but I don't think that's what they had in mind when they were expecting a Moana ride. So I'm not surprised if Disney does give us this Moana boat ride, despite the fact that we just got this other Moana attraction, because I do feel like it's still that popular of an IP. And I just think parents, they expect it. They don't even realize that it doesn't exist. But as far as an actual, boat ride, and the idea that it might be like you're facing waves, I mean, I can't wait for the video when like that boat sinks. Because it would be so funny. Like,
what a misdirect. I can't wait for the video when that boat sinks. Oh, wow.
Like, imagine like a little boat and like it's like going up against a wave and then it just starts sinking. Like I would just...
Kamila on brand. I love that so much. That is great. Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. When they were building the Journey of Water inspired by Moana, which again is a mouthful, and it's almost a disclaimer. This is not Moana. It's the Journey of Water, but it's inspired by Moana. And if you like Moana, there's a meet and greet there. So it's one of these things where when it was being built, I would hear people who walk by telling their friends and their kids, that's where the Moana ride's going to be. And then I heard people in queues in other parts of the park tell people, yeah, there's going to be a Moana ride there. And I think that when you think Disney and you think ride, especially for something that is a Disney animated classic like this, you usually think dark ride. And so that would be super disappointing if you thought that that's what you were going to get when you got there. I had a friend who waited in line at Ariel for 30 minutes before he got up to the front and realized he didn't go into the ride. He went into the queue for the meet and greet because they're right next to each other. And he has his picture with Ariel, but he's never ridden the attraction.
Say, still fun.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
So, Stephanie, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so as a parent of a toddler, I go to Animal Kingdom and we ride the Nabi River Journey over and over and over again because it's indoors, it's cool, and that's really all she can do. I mean, you can take her to a show, that's great, but you're hoping that she doesn't want to run down and dance with the dancers if she's not supposed to, or scream and cry during the Nemo show or something like this. No, she really loves both of them. But As far as indoor attractions go, I'm with you, Rob. I hope that they do it more of like a dark ride. And I'm really kind of worried about that drop, because if they height restrict this thing, they're taking
Oh,
Dino Land out. They're taking out a big area for kids, and you're going to put height restrictions on it now. And honestly, if they had listened to me, come on, Disney. If you had listened to me and put in Australia, what has unique animals that would be just great to go and look at, and this would go right into the Polynesian kind of area there. And it's right in between Nemo. Come on, man.
come on, man. Listen to Stephanie. Be
And
better.
spiders.
Yes, and spiders. That's right.
I mean, I think the original concept was that there was supposed to be in Australia, so who knows?
Yeah, that would
There,
be
I mean,
perfect.
Animal Kingdom feels like it could use like more, and obviously there was a
Yes.
huge redo around Pandora. When Pandora was built, they were like, let's open it up later, let's make the nighttime safari, and let's bring in Rivers of Light, and the Tree of Life Awakenings, and all of these things to keep this park open later and make it more of an all-day destination. And you've got everybody wants to ride those two rides and leave, basically, I think is what people want to do. So they need to find some way to keep people more engaged in that park, because all the things they did kind of fell apart. The Rivers of Light got erased, and then also the nighttime safari didn't really pan out the way they wanted it to. So let's move on. There are going to be 2 new food booths at the Food and Wine, and I want to kind of go through things a little bit more quickly here. But according to the Disney Rewards Insider newsletter, which is where I get all of my news, they said that there's going to be 2 new global marketplaces: the Autumn Blaze and the Harvest Table. We don't know too much about these, but it says seasonal ingredients like apples, pumpkins, and other foods that capture flavors in unique ways, such as brined pork tenderloin, fennel slaw at Autumn Blaze, and a wild game chili at Harvest Table, both new marketplaces. I'm up for anything new at Food and Wine. Food and Wine is coming in August, which is crazy, August 26th, but don't get that confused with the actual Halloween, which happens on October 31st, I've been told. Are you excited about these, Stephanie? Any thoughts before we move on from this one?
They sound great. My only thought is that it sounds like a warm dish in 200-degree weather. It's going to be hard to eat.
Okay, all right. I understand. Let's move on to this injury report, though. I find this interesting. So there was an injury report that came out for Disney World and Universal Orlando. It usually does, which is, again, one of these things where I remember back in the day, I feel like they kind of swept all this stuff under the rug and said there's magic there. There's never anything but magic. And so now it's like, oh, there is magic, but also here's a report of all the other things that happen there. And so this report says, the one thing that like is glaring from this report is that guests are losing consciousness on rides. This doesn't surprise me greatly because of the some of these rides, and I feel like there are 2 specifically that I'm thinking of in EPCOT that spin you around a lot, meaning Mission Space and Guardians. I feel like that's like in concept, it sounded like a great idea. They spent millions to build it, and then when people are on it, it's like, oh, crap. They're getting sick on this. They're not like, this is too much for some people. I don't know, Kamila, let me go to you and then we'll go to the doc. But do you feel like that, do you feel the same way about this or other thoughts?
I mean, I will not spend time because I definitely think this is one for Stephanie, but I will just say, take those warnings seriously about the rides. Like if you have high blood pressure or just any of those conditions, because I was literally watching a live stream for someone who was at Six Flags, and there was someone on the ride with them that got a heart attack like during the ride. And it was so scary. Terrible for that family. And the other thing I will say is, for those of you who are like flying, I never realized how many people die from flights. And again, this is really something for Stephanie, but like if you need to wear compression socks or drink water or like do whatever you need to do, take that stuff seriously, because I've also seen that recently. So
yeah. And Stephanie, before I go to you, I mentioned those 2, but in this report, it's things like Frozen Ever After that are, causing problems. What's your unofficial, non-sanctioned, but medical take on that.
Yes, my medical advice is of my own. It's not that of Walt Disney World News Today. So take it or leave it and consult your own healthcare professional. Camila's absolutely right. I mean, she's great. She could be my nurse. Yes, that's exactly right. If you have pre-existing conditions, you need to take heed of the warnings. And yes, I mean, every ride pulls some G's. I mean, it really does. Even if it's up to 14 G's or 2 G's or what have you. I don't know. You can actually look that information up if you want to Google search it. But yes, that will put some strain on your blood pressure, on your heart, and if you have a lung condition, things like this. So yeah, absolutely take all those warnings and do what you think you can do physically without, having a strain on what you're already working in your conditions. As far as your your airline situation, a lot of times that's for people who are on an airline and it's for over 2 hours. So if you're on an airplane for over 2 hours, like you said, wear a compression hose, but definitely get up and go to use the bathroom. Just move and get the circulation going and take your medication. Don't leave it at home. I mean, you can, try to get things sent to your pharmacy, hotel and that kind of thing. It's a big pain to do that. Trust me, I have been there, I've done that at Disney too. But yes, you need to bring all of your medications with you in your carry-on, not your checked bag.
Now it sounds like you also work for the airport. Are there any batteries in this? Okay, great.
No e-cigarettes.
Yeah, no keys, no e-cigarettes, no medications of any sort. I appreciate that. Again, it's very sad to see that anybody would get hurt on a vacation or just in general, but also like on a vacation that would be as magical as this. But it happens, and so therefore, try to take good care of yourself. Always hydrate in the parks, and watch out for each other when you're there. And hopefully these things will lessen along the way. I think a lot of it's probably people push themselves too hard because, as we've mentioned, this is a very expensive trip, and also to make each other happy. I know that my wife walked through the queue of Guardians with the idea that she was going to try to do it, but she's very queasy and has a lot of motion sickness, and then finally kind of bailed at the end of it. But I appreciated the effort. But it was kind of like you were talking about,
okay,
Camila, about when you bring a lot of people who want to, you want to ride Tower, and they're like, oof, that one, I can't really do that one. So, I like that when there are more opportunities for people to do things as a family. I think that was the idea that Walt spread when he opened up Disneyland is, this is for the whole family. When you go to a place like Six Flags, a lot of times they have the thrill rides for the thrill seekers, they have the kiddie rides for the kids, and they have the shows for the people in the middle. And there's not really, there's Boo Blasters on Boo Hill, if anybody knows that attraction, at, King's Dominion and a couple other parks. But most of the time, you're not going to find the dark rides. You're not going to find the land and Soarin' and World of Motion, which doesn't exist anymore. But, we're losing a lot of that because that used to be all of EPCOT, yes. Horizons and World of Motion and Universe of Energy, and now it's Thrill Ride, which is good, but add them on, don't replace them.
Yes.
I don't know. That's just a thought. Let's get to one of my favorite segments. It came from the parks. It was such a favorite segment of mine. Am I the only one that thinks this is fun? It came from the parks. I feel like
it stresses me out. It stresses me out.
Well, so does everything apparently about this show. I'm learning so much about your thoughts about this show tonight, Camila. But I would say, to me, it's interesting when I'm reading WDWNT.com. It's a blog. You should check it out. It's on the internet. That when I'm reading it and reading through it, a lot of times we have these stories that are like, did that really happen? Is that something that happened in, I want to say my park? Disney feels very personal to me. So, did that happen in my park, really? And I think, Camila, you've attributed 90% of it to alcohol at EPCOT, I think, at this point. So, right. I have 3 headlines ripped from WDWNT from the past week. I'm going to read them to you. You guys each pick one to talk about, and then we'll move on so that the rest of it doesn't cause too much stress to Camila, but because she's sitting over there. I don't like this. Yeah. So the first one is guests spotted swimming in the rivers of America at Magic Kingdom. Well, of course they were. This one, Whoopi Goldberg admits to spreading ashes at Disneyland. And then this one, drunken woman. See, again, the longer the title, the more interesting. Drunken woman arrested for trying to take her child to Cinderella Castle. Do you want to go first or second?
Can Stephanie go first?
Okay,
I need
all right.
time.
Yeah, I understand. I overstand. Stephanie, what do you got?
I have to take Whoopi Goldberg spreading her ashes. I just love the fact that they call it a code grandma. Like, I just like, what in the world is that, you know? So I recently met a lady, and I hope she's watching tonight because I told her to try to tune in. And she said, I would totally do that. She said, yes, take my ashes, put me in a spot at the Haunted Mansion, just put me in the corner, and I'm going to be fine. I'll just be one of the 99, haunted happy haunts. I'm going to jump right in with everybody. And I'm like, I think there would be a lot of people that if they knew people that they would actually want to do it. So maybe Disney can start charging that, put like a little mausoleum outside of each of the haunted mansions, and people can start putting their loved ones in there. I don't know. Rob. They can charge
so
big bucks.
No. So this apparently happened in 2010. It says after the death of her mother, Whoopi Goldberg took her mother's ashes to Disneyland to scatter the remains in one of her favorite attractions, It's a Small World. After doing this, Whoopi Goldberg realized that she had probably gone a little too far in honoring her mother. She told the cast members what she had done because she realized that spreading human remains in water in a water ride could cause a safety hazard. Huh.
Not a good idea.
What a concept.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so you know what? Don't do it. I feel like there are probably better ways to honor someone. But yeah. Kamila, you ready?
So I'm going to take the mom who tried to take her child to Disney, to Magic Kingdom, extremely intoxicated. And to me, the story is just very sad all the way around. It sounds like she got in an Uber, wanted to go with her and her daughter over to Magic Kingdom. It seems like the Uber driver is a big help in this case because he recognized that the mom seemed extremely intoxicated. After dropping them off, he flagged down, it sounds like a sheriff's deputy, and was able to kind of let that person know what was going on. It sounds like they were able to catch up with the mom and her daughter in the parks. But it's just, I don't know, it's just very sad. And I can imagine, being a little girl, and on the one hand, like, you just don't want this to be the memory of Disney for anyone, but certainly not for a child. And I just hope for the best. I hope that person can get help. So that, they don't find themselves in a similar situation. But to me, it's just a reminder that sometimes we do need to think about saying something, if we think there's a problem.
Yep, agree.
And I'm glad she came in an Uber and not her own car.
Yes. Oh my
Seriously.
goodness.
Yeah.
That is true. Exactly. Anyway, the third story about the person found swimming in the rivers of America. First of all, ew. Secondly, it felt very similar to when the person fell off of the raft.
Yes.
So I was like, is this old? Is this the same thing? Because like they're swimming in about the same space of rivers of America as the person who fell. So either way, don't do that. All right, so I do want to, just because of for the sake of time, speed through a couple things. One is there are new seats at the Carousel of Progress, which is nice to see them updating that. But just lightning wise, let me go ask you, Kamila, are the seats the only thing that needed to be updated in this attraction?
I mean, listen, the seats are important. I will just say, and look, this shows investment. So, listen, some of you are going to be like, oh, they need to update more. And then next thing you know, they're going to change the story and you're going to be upset about that too. Careful what you wish for.
So you're like, the seats are safe. We'll just do the seats. It's an upgrade.
The seats, maybe a sweater and one of the scenes, and then, leave it alone.
A sweat. Yeah, we already did that. We already played that game. I don't know. I just think it's funny that in a world where Alexa's existed for so long, that Grandpa is all excited about voice activation. But I mean, it's a classic attraction. It's been changed
Yes.
before. Recently, the only updates, as you mentioned, we're adding the sweaters and things to the final scene. But it's, I agree. Like, we'd get a little bit pitchforky if they started messing with it too much, but the seats do look good. So the one about Adventureland, Stephanie, is that and that looks like a mess, but is that they had Jack Sparrow has this great background where he can, hang out and do a meet and greet. It was originally a show, and there was some issues there, and they shut it down, and now it's just a meet and greet. And now they've kind of shoved him over in a little bit of Adventureland, but it feels like we're feeling a vibe of change in Adventureland because, again, D23 Expo in 2022, the OG, they announced that there was supposed to be a lounge, a pirates bar coming to Adventureland and Magic Kingdom, and we have not seen that yet. That seems like something you could have done pretty quickly, and I think that people have tried to decide, are they going to put it where the Pirates League was, or are they going to put it over by a Tortuga Tavern? And with Tortuga Tavern being down, and having backup to a kitchen does seem like the better idea, I would assume.
I loved Pirates League. I would love to see them bring that back, honestly. It was amazing. It was rowdy and it was ruckus and I loved it. But I would prefer the lounge to go in that side. It's a lot bigger inside than you think. And I know that you're talking about the kitchen and that kind of thing, but there's, backstage areas that they can, utilidors, come on, man. So anyway, but across the street to Tortuga, I would like to see that area changed into more of the New Orleans Tianas or something, and get the beignets a permanent home over there. But yes, Jack Sparrow, you have to go meet him. He's great.
Yeah, I saw him at Disneyland, and he was leaving to go backstage, and a little kid ran up, and he was like moving the chain, and he stopped and he put the chain back and turned around and hung out with the kid, and it was like, that's great. And yeah, it's a really good character. Like, that's really strong what they've been able to do without him. Let's end the night talking about this, because we brought this up, Stephanie. I think you were on the show. We talked about DAS before, and we were talking about the disability access service, that there are a lot of people who are having trouble now that they've made the changes getting the help that they need. And, again, we know that Disney is a private organization, and they can put whatever restraints that they want within a certain consideration on this. But there are a lot of people that are mad enough that they've created the DAS Defenders. Some of the videos that we showed, and we showed one last time with a young girl who was in a wheelchair with a ventilator, and they went, nah, not disabled enough. We need to see something more. And so the DAS Defenders group, they're not only planning to have some like organized kind of I don't want to say like, demonstrations around the East Coast and the West Coast, but they've also done a GoFundMe to get money to make a billboard for when D23 comes to town, and they can get all the eyes of not only the fans, but also the eyes of the executives in their thoughts on this before we move on.
I think that's phenomenal. I say more power to them. Absolutely, that needs to change. I think it needs to go, like we talked about, to a third party kind of medical personnel that can actually access their charts or maybe get more information at least, and really give them a fair shake, because right now they're not getting that. And I really do think, because there's so many conditions, like we said, that you cannot see physically, but that really do inhibit your ability to be in the parks for a long time or stand in line for a long time, even with the return time, so I feel like they do need to change that, and I'm glad they're able to defend themselves, for sure. More power to them.
Yeah, no, and again, this is one of those things where if it was because Disney was trying to keep people safe, or they were trying to make more allowances for the people who need it, we understand, but it just seems like that it's because too many people are taking advantage of the system, and not that this is something that I don't know. It feels like it's being done for the wrong reasons. Kamila, before we go.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the doctor. She would know much better than me.
Disagree.
But yeah, never disagree. The doctor is always right. No, and I will just say, I don't know a lot about what it's like to try to go to the parks with any kind of disability, physical, no one in my party has ever had that, but it's been heartbreaking to see some of the accounts of people and how stressed they are trying to apply for this, and then how heartbreaking it is when, if and when they don't get it. And there's almost just this genuine look of fear. How am I going to be able to do this trip that I've been looking forward to, for 6 months, a year, however long? Disney has to figure this out. They have to go back to the drawing board. Nobody wants to see, people, fake it, but I feel like this cannot be the answer with so many people, so genuinely hurt and upset and potentially unable to experience the parks and have this magic. So back to the drawing board, Disney.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
right.
Agreed. All right. Well, so again, apologies for going over, but it feels like we took there was a lot of stuff that happened that we wanted to talk about. So despite Stitch eating the page, so thank you guys for being with us. We appreciate you. Thank you so much to our WIGS members. We love our WIGS. The WDWNT Interglobe Society is our Patreon. If you would like to learn more about it, you can go to patreon.com/WDWNT to find out more, to become part of the family. But we appreciate all of you who are WIGs, and thank you guys for being with us for ParksCenter, as we've been doing live. Now, next week, not live. Next Sunday night, I will be in San Diego for the San Diego Comic-Con. First time I've ever been, baby's first con, and probably last.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Pictures.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So I'm very excited to be able to go out and experience that. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm fully expecting to get into nothing because of the way that the crowds look. So any advice, hit me up on Twitter at Rob S. Whiteside. I would love to get your advice if you guys have some. But so we will not have a ParksCenter next Sunday, but we'll be back the Sunday after. Probably still be talking about Comic-Con, but we'll be getting ready for D23, because D23 is shortly after that. So please join us in 2 weeks for ParksCenter. But if you are itching for some ParksCenter, go back and watch last week's. We had a lot of fun on that one as well. And then also on Wednesday night, we are doing Deep in the Plus. Here's a look at what we've done. Stephanie and I did a Liberty Story. We did Descendants. That was with Patrick and myself. And then The Acolyte, we did a season 1 review. Wreck-It Ralph, Patrick is back to talk about. And then the Walt Disney Archives. Shannon's coming in to talk about that one. That's a really neat one about the behind the scenes of the archives. So we appreciate you guys supporting us on Deep in the Plus every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. ParksCenter every Sunday night at 9 p.m. except for next Sunday. Anyway, but we also have a post show for our WIGs after this, so we appreciate it. I feel like I said something funny, Stephanie. What did I say?
No, you're good.
It was just, but not next Sunday.
But not next Sunday. But not next Sunday. I was talking to somebody in person at Destination D23, and they were yelling at Tom about how often News Tonight is off the air. And he looked at me and he goes, "At least you let us know when you're not going to be on." And I was like, that is correct. Thank you, sir. I do that. We do try to bring you a show every single solitary Sunday, so we hope you guys enjoy it. Please let us know in the comments, what you felt about tonight's show, any strong vibes you have about any of the topics. We'd love to hear from you, and we respond. And again, thanks to all the super chats for tonight. We appreciate that too. Again, we have a post show after this real quick for our WIGS members, so we hope to see you guys there. If not, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun,
Dun. Dun. I thought about doing like the Harry Potter song, but I couldn't remember how it went. I was gonna be like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.